Hello there, everybody, and welcome. My name is Tamir Moore, and welcome to the latest episode here on my YouTube channel. Also, I will invite you to follow me on social media as I often post there a lot. You can check out the links to my Twitter and Instagram profiles on this intro screen. And one last quick thing, you can check out my latest video by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And now it is time to start today's featured episode. And now, live on tape, here is Tamir Moore with this week's filming of What You Need to Know. Hello again, everybody. Happy holidays and welcome to episode 12 of What You Need to Know. I'm Tamir Moore. It's a pleasure to be with you. Hope you had a wonderful week. We are getting you set for the Week 15 America's Game of the Week matchup on Fox as the Detroit Lions visit the Los Angeles Rams. Of course, this game has massive implications for both sides, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But before we start with this week's episode, a couple of housekeeping items to point your attention to. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of all of our newest content we post every single week here. So if you like football and you like learning more about it, then this is the channel for you to be. I really would appreciate that. Also, I will mention that we are starting to grow our YouTube family. Another subscriber has joined the Tamir Moore family since the last episode last week. We are now at 57 subscribers. We're still 43 short of our 100 subscriber goal by the end of 2025. Keep in mind, there's only 2.5 weeks left. So now is the time to do a blitz. Spread the word to your family and friends as quickly and rapidly as possible as we are trying to grow our viewership base here during the holiday season. Now, if we don't reach 100 by the end of 2025, then we will reset and we will move that goal back a year to the end of 2026. Thank you for your attention to that matter. And liking will help the algorithm, so make sure that you do that. If you subscribe, it will help you find my channel and my content a lot easier. So that's why it's really important for you to subscribe. And don't be a lurker. A lot of people watch YouTube episodes that are not subscribed. So if you watch my content, if you enjoy what you do, doing what I do, I should say, then make sure that you subscribe so I know that you enjoy the content that we are doing in the independent media space. Appreciate y'all. This is not the first time that we've covered the Detroit Lions this season. As you know, we previously covered the Lions 2 weeks ago on Thanksgiving Day against the Green Bay Packers. If you would like to learn more about that game a couple weeks back, then please click the card in the upper right corner for more information there. As far as the Los Angeles Rams are concerned, we covered the Rams back in Week 10 against the San Francisco 49ers. If you missed that video and would like to watch it now, then please click the card in the upper right corner. So this is the second time that we've done a Rams game. This is the second time we have done a Detroit Lions game this season, and both teams understand the significance of this game is very, very great. Right now, Detroit is 8-5. The Rams are 10-3. And here in Week 15, this is a pivotal matchup that will shape the NFC playoff landscape. This week on the show, now that we've completed our housekeeping items, we have several exciting things to look forward to. We will talk about the reference note that you set up for the game. We will have the injury report, and we will give you details about who's playing, who's not playing, who's questionable. All those details will be explained in great detail on this show. And then we will, of course, talk about the game capsule as always. So we have plenty of captivating stuff to pique your interest here. So thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. You could be watching anything. You could be doing anything else this weekend. But I'm glad you're spending part of your weekend and your Sunday with me here at the Tamir Moore YouTube channel. That means a lot to me. Okay, section 1 of episode 12 of What You Need to Know is the reference notes. Lions, Rams 2025 NFL regular season Week 15. As I mentioned earlier, this is a crucial Week 15 battle today here at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, as Amon-Ra St. Brown and the Detroit Lions are in town to take on Jared Verse and the Los Angeles Rams. Detroit 8-5, Rams 10-3. For the Detroit Lions, it has been a little bit of a bumpy ride. They had a 4-1 start. They beat the Bears 52-21 back in week 2. Remember, Chicago started with a 0-2 record. They defeated 3 AFC North teams early in the season. Since week 6, though, Detroit has alternated between wins and losses every single week. Last week, though, the Lions defeated the Cowboys 44-30 on Thursday Night Football. The Lions have had a mini bye, 10 days off to get ready and prepare for this game. Despite the 8-5 record, which is good, the Lions are on the outside looking in, as the Detroit Lions are currently 8th in the NFC, and we will further talk about that in just 1 second. Next week, the Lions will be going back to Ford Field for their final home game of the season as they host Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then after that, the Lions will have 2 road games in Minnesota and in Chicago to wrap up 2025 regular season play. As for Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams, the Rams have looked like a juggernaut the majority of the season. The Rams lead the power ranking, they lead the NFL, and the Los Angeles Rams are a fun team to document and watch. The Rams have shown all season long that this squad is capable of making a deep playoff run. Perhaps a run to Super Bowl 60 in February, not out of the question for this Los Angeles Rams football team. After a Thursday night Week 5 loss against San Francisco, the Rams have gone on the heater as of late, claiming wins in 7 of their past 8. The only loss during this time was Week 13 against the Panthers, and with Matthew Stafford threw 2 interceptions, very uncharacteristic for him, but Matthew Stafford bounced back last week. More details about that in just a moment. Last week, the Rams went on the road and demolished the Cardinals by a final score of 45-17. The Rams lead the NFC West with a 10-3 record. They have the number 1 seed in the NFC with the same 10-3 mark. And next week, the Rams have a huge game when they visit the Seattle Seahawks to kick off Week 16 on Thursday Night Football. Section 1 complete. Let's move on now to Section 2, the injury report. Sadly, the Detroit Lions are banged up in their secondary, and we will tell you more about that and the Rams too. And of course, this injury report is where I tell you who's playing, who's not playing, who's doubtful, who's questionable, all that sort of stuff. So let's start with the good news first, and then we'll do the bad news in just a little bit. Let's talk about the good news, the players who are playing but still appear on the injury report. Let's start with the Lions. Alex Angeloni, the linebacker, has been dealing with an illness. He did not practice, I should say, on Wednesday. Angeloni was a full participant on Thursday and Friday, and he's expected to go here today. Alex, hope you feel better, my man. As for the Rams, 3 players with no injury status whatsoever. Tutu Atwell, the wide receiver. Let's start with him first. Hamstring injury. He was a full participant for the Rams on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. No injury status. He's expected to play here today. Cornerback Darius Williams has been dealing with a tibia injury. He was a full participant throughout the course of the week. He has no injury status. He's expected to play for the Rams today. And outside linebacker Byron Young, we'll talk about Byron and the special season that he's having a little bit later in the program. He has been dealing with a knee injury, also got him some rest. He was a limited participant on Wednesday and Thursday. He did not practice on Friday. No injury status. He's expected to play in this game. 2 players for the Rams have an unspecified injury status for today's game against the Detroit Lions. Wide receiver Devontae Adams has been dealing with a hamstring injury. He did not practice on Wednesday and Thursday. He was a limited participant on Friday. Unspecified status, so we'll see if he goes or not. Aldrick Jackson, offensive tackle for the Rams, has been resting. He did not practice on Friday, and he also has an unspecified game status for today's game as well. Let's move on to the questionable. Let's start with the Rams. Safety Jalen McCullough has been dealing with an illness. He is questionable for this game. For the Lions, several players are questionable. Let's start with God. Let's start with guard. I don't know why I said God there, but let's start with Lions guard Kelechi Asiaka. He's been dealing with a foot injury. He was limited participant during the Lions practices on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. He is questionable for this game. Lions tackle Taylor Decker has been dealing with a shoulder injury, also been getting some rest this week. He's not practiced at all this week, and he's questionable for the game. Wide receiver Khalif Layman of the Lions has been dealing with an ankle injury. He was limited in practice all this week. He is questionable for this game. Running back Sion Vakai has been dealing with a thumb injury. He was limited in practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, questionable for the game. And Shane Zysra, the Lions tight end, has been dealing with a knee injury, limited participant in practice on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. He is questionable for this game. And of course, we get to the bad news. I have to leave the bad news last. The Lions, as you know, are decimated in the secondary. And of course, the big story is the beginning of life without defensive back Brian Branch. As you know, he suffered a terrible Achilles injury last Thursday against the Cowboys. He's a big loss. He's a big part of what they do back there in the Lions secondary. Towards Achilles last week, out for the rest of the season. So that's a really big loss. Also, a couple safeties are also out for this game for Detroit. Thomas Harper, concussion, limited practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's out. He can't go. Kirby Joseph still has not been cleared to come back yet for the Lions. He was dealing with a knee injury. He practiced on Wednesday. He did not practice on Thursday, Friday. He ruled out for this game. Christian Mahogany, the offensive lineman for the Lions, has been dealing with a fibula injury. He was limited in practice on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and he's also out for this game. So we are facing Puka Nacua, Devontae Williams, Blake Corum, Kyron Williams, Ronnie Livers. It's going to be a really tough time for the Detroit defense against a Rams team that likes to score points. So we'll see how the Detroit Lions secondary injuries impact how they approach this game. It's certainly a noticeable impact, no doubt. All right, that is section 2. We are moving right along. And the Oklahoma City Thunder lost. I just got a notification on my phone that the San Antonio Spurs were able to hand Oklahoma City just their second loss of the season. And if you've been paying attention to SGA, Jalen Williams, Chet Hunger, the Thunder have had an extraordinary season. Coming into this weekend, Oklahoma City only had one loss on the season that came in early November against the Trailblazers. The Spurs were able to do something that only one team has done this year, beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. At San Antonio Spurs were able to beat the Thunder in their Emirates NBA Cup semifinal game out in Las Vegas. And the San Antonio Spurs will take on the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Karl Anthony Towns, Deuce McBride. That is coming up on Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Prime Video. So just wanted to throw that in there. A little NBA NFL crossover there. You know I'm a big NBA fan. Anytime I can talk about the NBA during the NFL video, I will certainly do that. All right, let's get back to our main focus here, which is football. I do appreciate your indulgence for a few seconds as I talk about my favorite sport of NBA basketball. Good luck to the Knicks and Spurs on Tuesday night in the championship game of the third annual Emirates NBA Cup, which was formerly the NBA in-season tournament. Now, let's get into the game capsule, folks. This game has massive playoff implications for both participants today, so let's talk about it. Jahmyr Gibbs and the Detroit Lions, 8-5, travel to the West Coast today to take on the Rams. Detroit's playoff dreams still very much a possibility as we close in on Christmas, which is less than 2 weeks away, if you can possibly believe that. We have two teams that just put up 40-plus points in their last game. The Stafford versus Goff trade that had the league buzzing during the 2021 offseason. I think the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade has worked well for both teams, right? Both teams benefited from that 2021 offseason trade. It really shook up the league. Matthew Stafford, of course, led the Rams to the Super Bowl championship during the 2021 season. Jared Goff have had the Lions as a good contending NFC team during his time there. So both teams really love what they got in the 2021 Goff Stafford offseason trade. And this game has postseason importance. Sign me up. This is the 90th all-time meeting between the Lions and the Rams. This is the 88th regular season meeting. The Rams lead the regular season series 45-41-1. However, the Lions have beaten the Rams in both of the playoff games, including the 2023 NFC wildcard game in which Detroit edged Los Angeles by a final score of 24-23. All right. Let's get into the game notes. As you can see, we got the Lions here. We got the Rams here. Let's start with the Detroit Lions. The Lions have 4 games left as we start the final quarter of the 2025 season. So here is the remaining schedule for the Detroit Lions. They have the Rams today. Next week, the host Pittsburgh, and then 2 road games against NFC North divisional foes at the Vikings on Christmas Day and at the Bears on the final weekend of the 2025 season. As I mentioned earlier, the Lions are currently the number 8 seed in the NFC, trailing the 7-seeded Bears by 1 game for the final playoff spot in the NFC. However, the Lions do own the tiebreaker over Chicago thanks to a 52-21 Detroit victory back in week 2, which I know feels like forever ago because it was. The Lions are 3rd in the NFC North behind the Bears, 9-4, who the Lions will play the final week of the year, and the Green Bay Packers, who are 9-3-1. Unfortunately for Detroit, Green Bay swept the Lions during the 2 regular season meetings this year. Week 1, Green Bay beat Detroit to start the season, and of course, Green Bay beat Detroit on Thanksgiving Day in a game that we covered on this show, if you recall. Oh, excuse me, and pardon me for that. So this is a very important game that has paramount importance as the Lions try to stay in the wild card chase and also stay in the NFC North chase. As for the Los Angeles Rams, 4 games left for them too. Detroit at home here today, at Seattle next Thursday night, at Atlanta week 17 this Monday Night Football, so a lengthy layoff between those 2 games. And then they'll be back here at SoFi Stadium for the regular season finale against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 18. The Rams currently enter Week 15 Sunday with the number 1 seed in the NFC and also the top spot in the NFC West thanks to a Week 11 head-to-head win over the Seahawks 21-19. I was here at SoFi Stadium about a month ago, and the 2 teams will rematch next week in Week 16. And for all intents and purposes, the NFC West might come down to that game next week. So if you're the Los Angeles Rams, you want to go into that Seattle game with momentum on your side with 2 straight wins against NFC foes. All right, give me a second. I'm about to pull something up here on the computer to show you guys how important this game is for the Los Angeles Rams. Think about this. This is from playoffstatus.com. Go check them out if you haven't done so already. I might leave a link to that website in the description of this episode so you can go and check it out for yourself. But this is a crucial game for Jared Verse and the Los Angeles Rams here today because the Rams currently hold the number 1 seed. If the Rams win this game, according to playoffstatus.com, the Rams will have a 59% probability rate to wind up as the number 1 seed in the conference. The Rams have a 51% probability at the moment. If the Rams win, they go up by 8%. However, if the Rams lose today, then their probability comes way down. Their probability will come down and will fall to 28%. That's a 31% decrease, right? If the Rams lose, their number 1 seed chances plummet to 28%. So In other words, this is a must-win for the Los Angeles Rams, right? To not only stay in first place in the conference, but also keep their division lead. So this is a very critical game that the Rams can't afford to take lightly, and their best effort is required if the Los Angeles Rams wants to win this game in front of the home fans. Also, keep in mind that if the Rams win today, the Rams will become the first team in the NFC to clinch the playoff spot. The Rams are one of 3 teams, alongside the Patriots and Broncos, to potentially be in a position to clinch the playoff spot this week. If the Patriots beat the Bills today, the Patriots are in the postseason play. If Denver beats Green Bay, the Broncos get in. And if the Rams beat the Lions today, the Rams are in. So for the Patriots, Broncos, and Rams, it's the most simplistic scenario as far as potential clinching scenarios are concerned. All you have to do is win. You're in the playoff. No questions asked. If the Rams win, you clinch the playoff spot, and then you worry about the NFC West, then the number 1 seed. It's a gradual thing now. Okay. We have how many keys? We have 18 keys to talk about for section number 3. So let's get into it. Let's start with the Detroit Lions for key number 1. Let's talk about Lions quarterback Jared Goff, week 14 against the Dallas Cowboys. Goff passed for 309 yards, 1 touchdown pass, did not get intercepted in the game, and finished with a quarterback rating of 111. A solid performance from Jared last week put his team in position to win the football game. Plus, he had a quarterback rating over 100 for the second straight week in a row. Key number 2, Los Angeles Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, week 14 at Cardinals. Matthew passed for 281 yards. He had 3 touchdown passes and finished with a good quarterback rating of 131.2. Stafford recovered nicely after the clunker that he had against Carolina back in week 13, where he threw 2 interceptions. Stafford has 35 touchdowns so far in 2025, which lead the league, and his quarterback rating of 113.1 also lead the National Football League. Folks, you can see why Matthew Stafford is in the MVP conversation, because week in and week out, Matthew Stafford always puts his team behind his back and finds a way to get a team a dub. Matthew Stafford is a consummate professional. He was the number 1 overall pick back in 2009 out of Georgia, spent his first 12 seasons in Detroit, and he has spent 5 seasons now with the Rams. And for Matthew Stafford, this game does mean a lot, right? You're facing a team that drafted you, that you spent the first 7 years of your career with, and Matthew Stafford will like nothing better than beat his former team to help the LA Rams get into the postseason. Okay, let me check something out. Just want to make sure that Matthew Stafford was the number 1 overall pick back in 2009. I know he was. Just want to make sure. Matthew Stafford, first overall pick back in 2009. That's a fact, and I verified it with Pro Football Reference. It says Matthew Stafford, draft, Detroit Lions in the first round, first overall of the 2009 NFL Draft. Matthew Stafford, the 37-year-old native from Tampa, Florida, who turned 38 in February. What a time that Matthew Stafford's had since coming to the Rams 5 years ago. Key number 3. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams offense in 2025. In 6 of their last 7 games, the Rams have amassed at least 28 points or more. Last week, they put up 45 against a really bad and a really subpar Arizona team. They went 75% in the red zone against the Cardinals in week 14, 3 for 4. The Rams scored relentlessly against the Cardinals last week, showing the Cardinals no mercy whatsoever. And one quick postscript on key number 1. Jared Goff been on a heater. He has thrown for at least 200 yards passing in 7 straight games. He's looking to make it 8 straight against this Rams defense here today. Key number 4, Detroit Lions offense week 14 against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. The Lions offense last week registered 44 points, went 3 for 8 on third down, went 4 for 5 in the red zone. The Lions exploded to the tune of 44 points last week. 24 points, 10 of 13 games. Scoring is not a problem for the Lions, right? The Lions typically put up a lot of points. Their offense is really good. They have good skill position players, good offensive line. Dan Campbell took over the play calling duty several weeks ago, and the Detroit Lions offensively are starting to round into form late in the year, postseason a few weeks away. You definitely want to be playing some of your best football. Lions quarterback Jared Goff was only sacked once against the Cowboys last week. However, Goff was sacked 3 times in the 2 prior games prior to the Dallas game. The Week 12 win over the New York Giants in overtime, that was a game with Tamir Gibbs went off for 3 touchdowns. And guess what? Tamir Gibbs also had 3 touchdowns last week, but I might be letting the cat out the bag on that one. And the Thanksgiving Day loss against the Green Bay Packers. Key number 5, Los Angeles Rams defense in 2025. 17.5 points per game, which is 3rd in the NFL, and their third down defense is 8th in the NFL. The Rams defense this season has done an amazing job limiting opponents' points in third down conversion rate. Last week against the Cardinals, they only allowed 17 points, right near their average, and they allowed Arizona to convert just 4 of their 12 third down opportunities, or 33%. You don't need to be a math major to figure that out. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and they only converted 1/3 of the time, referring to the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams defense was able to put the pieces back together after making Bryce Young look like the number 1 overall pick out of Alabama back in 2023. This was week 13 against Carolina, in which the Rams give up a lot of points. Bryce Young was able to move the ball in that game against the LA Rams. The Ram defense was able to put their foot down, saying enough's enough. We need to get back to what we do. Key number 6, Rams pass defense 2025. 83.3 quarterback rating, which is 7th in the NFL. 6.5 yards per attempt, which is 7th in the NFL. Last week against Cardinals quarterback Jacoby Brissett, they allowed him to throw for 271 yards. They allowed 2 touchdowns against Brissett. The Ram defense was able to get an interception from Brissett, and they held him to a quarterback rating of 80.8. Key number 7, Rams pass rush week 14 against the Cardinals. 3 sacks, 44 pass attempts. They were able to get Jacoby Brissett down on the ground 3 times, so the Rams pass rush was able to get after Jacoby Brissett, make his day a living hell. Defensive end, Colby Turner had 1, and Byron Young, who we talked about earlier in the injury report section of the show, he had a sack in the game. What a year that outside linebacker Byron Young is having with the Los Angeles Rams. Last week, he was able to pick up his 11th sack of the year. The Rams have 36 sacks as a team so far in 2025, which is tied for 6th in the NFL. Rams defensive backs allowed 142 yards to Cardinals wide receiver Michael Wilson last week, 58 yards last week to Arizona Cardinals tight end Trey McBride. Nothing of note regarding Cardinals running backs going crazy against them. Only allowed 16 rushing yards to Cardinals running back Bam Knight. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford didn't get his uniform jersey dirty last week in the desert, not getting sacked once during 31 pass attempts. The Rams are tied for the fewest sacks in 2025. Rams wide receiver Davante Adams was limited to 29 yards on 6 targets last week. Key number 8, let's flip you back to the Detroit side here. Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams, week 14 against the Dallas Cowboys. Jameson was targeted 11 times. Jameson hauled in 9 passes, and he picked up 96 yards. Jameson has now picked up 88 or more yards in 4 of his last 5 games, which shows that Jameson is starting to pick up his production for head coach Dan Campbell in the Detroit Lions, and Jameson Williams is starting to emerge as a good target for Jared Goff to throw to. Key number 9. Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. Remember against Green Bay on Thanksgiving Day, Amon-Ra St. Brown suffered a really bad ankle injury, had to leave the game, did not come back. But Amon-Ra showed his mental toughness last week against the Dallas Cowboys. He came back to the Lions lineup, and boy, what a difference he made. 9 targets, 6 receptions, 92 yards, and he is just 24 yards short of a 1,000-yard season. And if Amon-Ra picks up 24 yards here today against the Rams, that will give him 1,000 yards for the season. The always reliable, dependable former USC wideout, now wideout for the Detroit Lions. Key number 10, Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs. What an electrifying performance Jahmyr Gibbs put together last week against the Dallas Cowboys. He impacted the Lions' win in 2 ways, as a receiver and as a runner. This serves as key number 10. As a receiver last week, Jahmyr was targeted 7 times. He caught all 7 of his targets as a receiver, and he racked up 77 yards. He was actively involved in the pass game a week ago. As a runner, in his traditional running back, halfback role, he ran the ball 12 times for 43 yards. He averaged 3.6 yards per pop, and he scored 3 rushing touchdowns, finding pay dirt on 3 separate occasions, matching his 3 touchdown performance against the New York Giants back in Week 12. That was that overtime win in which Jameis Winston scored a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs went off in that game, and they needed Jahmyr Gibbs against the Giants because if Jahmyr Gibbs did not put up the 3 touchdown performance he did back then, the Lions probably lose that game. Key number 11, Lions running back David Montgomery, Week 14 versus Cowboys. 6 attempts, 60 yards, averaging 10 yards per carry. That's pretty healthy. And a touchdown. David Montgomery contributed to last week's win with a long rip for a tutty. Key number 12, Detroit Lions defense 2025. The Lions offense is good. The defense is a little shaky, right? Because the Lions have given up 27 points or more in 3 straight games. And help the fact the Lions are banged up, right? Brian Brant's out for the season. Kirby Joseph out. Thomas Harper out. So several safety for the Lions right now will not play today. The Lions defense can be vulnerable. And last week against Dallas in Week 14, they gave up 30 points. Key number 13, Lions pass defense Week 14 versus Cowboys. Versus Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. Touchdown, 2 interceptions, quarterback rating of 79.7. Unfortunately, as I mentioned multiple times throughout this program, they had a big loss last week for the Lions. Defensive back Brian Branch from Alabama got a Achilles injury last week. Very unfortunate. He's out for the year. That's a big loss for them. And the Lions pass defense was able to answer the call, however, following tough performance against Packers quarterback Jordan Love 2 weeks ago. And the Lions pass defense is averaging 93.3 QB rating so far in 2025. Key number 14, Detroit Lions pass rush Week 14 against the Dallas Cowboys. 5 sacks. It was an early Christmas gift at Ford Field last week as Dak Prescott got bagged 5 separate times by the Detroit Lions pass rush on 47 pass attempts. Keep in mind, the Lions got 5 sacks on Dak Prescott without star defensive end Aiden Hutchinson getting 1 at all. We'll see if Aiden Hutchinson is able to get a sack on Matthew Stafford and the Rams this week. Key number 15. What a great performance Puka Nacua did last week against the Arizona Cardinals. Had some unbelievable catches. While filming that earlier in the week, what a stud that Puka Nacua is turning himself into for the Los Angeles Rams. Last week, he was targeted 11 times, caught 7 balls, picked up 167 yards, which is excellent, amazing, astonishing. He had 2 touchdowns during the game, and he was the only pass catcher with more than 40 yards against the Cardinals in the Week 14 matchup between the two longtime NFC West foes. Rams tight end Kobe Parkinson had just 32 yards versus the Cardinals last week. Rams running back Ronnie Rivers had 41 yards on 5.1 yards per carry against the Cardinals in the previous game. Key number 16. Rams running back Kyron Williams out of Notre Dame, now in his fourth year. Last week against the Cardinals, week 14, he ran the ball 13 times, 84 yards, 6.5 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Nice showing for Kyron. He has accumulated at least 4.5 yards per carry in 6 of his last 7 games. So Kyron Williams, he's starting to put good performances together. It's starting to stack them. And key number 17, this is the last key that I will tell you guys about the Los Angeles Rams. Their young running back, Blake Corum, out of University of Michigan. He and Kyron Williams are a solid 1-2 punch at running back. It's going to be a big challenge for the Detroit Lions here today. Blake Corum last week. Blake Corum had 12 attempts. Corum picked up 128 yards, 10.7 yards per carry. That is splendid, exceptional there. And he had 2 touchdowns. Corum gushed for the Cardinals defense. 80 yards now in back-to-back games for the former Michigan runner. And the final key for today's show is the Lions' rush defense. This is a strength, though, for the Lions, though, right? We know the secondary banged up, playing injuries back there, but the Lions are really doing a great job this season against the run, and that's going to be important when you have Kyron Williams and Blake Corum on the other side of this equation. Key number 18, Lions' rush defense. Week 14 against Cowboys running back Javonte Williams, 67 yards. That's all he allowed to Javonte. 3.9 yards per carry. Detroit has played well against the run basically all season long. Okay, y'all. That is the game capsule for this week. Let me play a little bit of the NFL on Fox theme music before we wrap up this show for today. Always love listening to the NFL on Fox theme song. It always gets me excited for game day. That is it for episode 12 of What You Need to Know. We'll be back with you next Saturday. Yes, we will have a Saturday show. So a little bit of a programming note for you. We will not have a show next Sunday. We will have a Saturday show instead. And we have a great Week 16 matchup as Micah Parsons and the NFC North leading Green Bay Packers visit Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. So we're really excited to bring that matchup to you right here for What You Need to Know. So just be aware that we will have a show Saturday and not Sunday. So my week of preparation shortened a little bit. I'm really excited to be uploading a video Friday night, Saturday. That's something that we really do here. And then we'll be back to our regular Sunday schedule for Week 17 as Deion Dawkins and the Buffalo Bills host Saquon Barkley, Jordan Davis, and the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Can't believe that we're down to the final 4 weeks of the 2025 regular season. Also, a reminder as well before we sign off for this episode, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of all of our newest content. We post every single week on YouTube. We are 12 episodes into the show, and we will have a lot more episodes of What You Know set to come your way. Also, don't be a lurker. Make sure that you subscribe if you enjoy the content so we know that you want us to continue to do this in the not so too far future. Tell a friend about this show and this channel. I would love to continue to build our subscribers up. We had 50 subscribers, 52, 55, 57, so we're starting to grow one by one. Every new subscriber is really great to see, and hopefully we can continue to build our subscriber base up between this show and our next show on Saturday. So, until the next time we meet, take care of yourselves and each other. enjoy Lions versus Rams in the West of the Week 15 NFL action. My name is Tamir Moore, signing off. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. What's up, guys? It's Tamir Moore. I appreciate you for watching today's video, and I look forward to seeing you next time for another YouTube video. In the meanwhile, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check out my social media profiles and my YouTube profile, which I provided in this outro screen. So long, everybody, and have a great day.